Sharing your feelings about family issues is not a sign of weakness, but an act of immense strength. It takes bravery to face the pain and trust someone with your heart, but that trust is often the first step toward mending the brokenness inside. Our families can be the source of our deepest joys, but also our most profound hurts. To open up about those hurts requires a level of vulnerability that is both terrifying and freeing. But in that space of honesty, we can find the courage to heal. The most difficult conversations are often the ones that hold the most potential for growth. When we open up about family struggles, we're not just speaking our truth, we're creating an opportunity for healing, for understanding, and for change. There's a unique kind of pain that comes from family issues, one that can feel isolating and overwhelming. But when we open up to those we trust, we often discover that the burden is lighter when shared, and that healing is possible even in the most difficult circumstances. Family can be a place of comfort or a source of pain, and sometimes it's hard to know how to navigate the complexities of those relationships. Opening up is the first step toward clarity, and through that process, we may begin to see the path toward healing. There are times when it feels impossible to express what's going on inside, especially when it involves family, but by sharing those feelings, we allow others to offer the support and understanding we desperately need, and we open ourselves up to healing. The act of opening up about family struggles can feel like stepping into the unknown. It's scary and uncertain, but it's also a necessary part of the healing journey, a way to release the emotional weight we've carried for so long. Family issues can feel like a burden that no one else can understand, but sometimes the simple act of talking about them can lighten the load, bringing clarity and a sense of connection that helps to ease the pain. The act of trusting someone enough to share your deepest family struggles is an act of immense courage. In that moment, we show not only our vulnerability, but also our willingness to grow, to understand, and to heal. Opening up about family issues is never easy, especially when emotions are raw and the pain is fresh. But by sharing our stories, we allow others to see us as we truly are, vulnerable, human, and in need of compassion and understanding. Family issues often bring up feelings of shame and guilt, making it hard to speak our truth. But when we open up, we release those feelings, allowing ourselves to move toward forgiveness, healing, and a deeper understanding of our own emotions. It can feel like your family's problems are too much to bear on your own, and sometimes speaking up about them feels impossible. But when we find the strength to share our struggles, we often discover a deeper sense of connection and healing, both for ourselves and for others. We don't always choose our families, but we can choose to open up about the struggles that come with them. In doing so, we invite understanding and empathy, creating the possibility for healing and transformation. There's something incredibly freeing about finally being able to speak your truth. When it comes to family issues, this truth can be messy and painful, but it's also the beginning of a journey toward healing and reconciliation. Opening up about family issues often requires us to confront our deepest fears: fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of being misunderstood. But in the end, it's those very fears that, when overcome, allow us to grow and heal. Family struggles can leave us feeling isolated and alone. But when we find the courage to open up, we often find that we are not as alone as we thought. There is strength in sharing our stories, and in doing so, we create space for others to do the same. Sometimes, the most healing thing we can do for ourselves is to share our family struggles with someone who listens without judgment. It's through that act of opening up that we begin to understand our own emotions and find a way forward. Family issues are not just personal, they affect us at a core level, shaping our beliefs, our behavior, and our emotional well-being. Speaking about them is a way of reclaiming our story and finding the power to heal and grow. The weight of unspoken family issues can be suffocating, but when we find someone who is willing to listen, we create the space to breathe again, to process our emotions, and to begin the journey toward healing. To open up about family struggles is to acknowledge that you are not defined by them, but that they are a part of your story. It's a chance to express your feelings, release your pain, and start to create the future you deserve. Sometimes, the hardest part of healing is finally finding the courage to speak the words you've been holding inside for so long. Family can be both a comfort and a source of pain, and opening up about those struggles can feel like stepping into a storm. But in those moments, the act of being heard can feel like a quiet refuge. Opening up about family issues feels like tearing down walls you've spent a lifetime building. It's vulnerable, raw, and uncertain, but it's also a step toward growth and understanding, both for yourself and for those you care about. It's difficult to speak the truth when it's about those who are supposed to love you unconditionally. Yet sometimes that truth is the only thing that can bring healing, and the only way forward is to trust that your voice will be heard. There are moments when the weight of unspoken words becomes unbearable, and sharing them is the only way to lighten your heart. Opening up about family struggles isn't just about being understood by others. It's about finding clarity and peace within yourself. Sometimes the fear of judgment keeps us from speaking our truths, especially when it involves our families. But what if the real strength lies in sharing those struggles, in trusting others with our pain, and letting them listen without expecting anything in return? Family can be both the anchor and the storm, holding you steady while pushing you to face the deepest parts of yourself. To open up about those challenges is an act of bravery, showing that you're willing to face the pain head on in the hope of finding peace. When the wounds of family issues go unspoken, they fester and grow. But speaking them aloud, even to just one person who truly listens, can begin the process of healing, of reclaiming the peace that feels so far out of reach. It's easy to feel alone when family struggles seem insurmountable, but sometimes the act of opening up to someone you trust can remind you that you're not alone in your struggles and that your feelings are valid and worthy of being heard. Opening up about family matters requires a level of vulnerability that many of us are afraid to show. Yet, in that vulnerability, we often find a deeper connection to ourselves and others, a path toward healing that can only begin when we start speaking our truth. In the silence of unspoken family issues, we often convince ourselves that we are the only ones suffering. But when we finally open up and share, we discover that our feelings are shared, that others are willing to listen, and that the burden becomes lighter. Trust is a fragile thing, especially when it comes to family. But sometimes the best way to rebuild that trust is by sharing what's in your heart, even when the words are difficult, even when the emotions are overwhelming. There are times when holding everything in feels like the only choice, but letting it all out can be a way to heal the wounds you've carried for so long. Opening up about family struggles is a difficult journey, but it's a journey worth taking for the sake of your own peace. The act of opening up about family problems is more than just sharing your pain. It's a way to find understanding, to break free from the shame that often surrounds family dynamics, and to create a space where healing can truly begin. Sometimes the only way to move forward is by acknowledging the weight of your past. Family issues are complicated, and it's easy to feel lost in them. But when you finally trust someone enough to share, you may discover a path to healing you didn't know existed. Family issues can often feel like a tangled web, with emotions and experiences woven so tightly together that it's hard to see where one ends and the other begins. But by opening up, we give ourselves the opportunity to untangle those threads, to find clarity in the chaos. It takes courage to open up about your struggles, especially when those struggles are tied to the people you've always called family. But there's power in vulnerability, and by trusting others to listen, you allow yourself the chance to heal and move forward. The weight of family struggle can be suffocating when carried alone. But when we open up and allow someone to listen, we release that pressure, making room for healing, understanding, and the possibility of resolution. There are moments in life when the only way to make sense of the confusion is by sharing your thoughts and feelings with someone who truly listens. Family issues are complex, but speaking about them can be the first step toward finding peace and reconciliation. Sometimes the hardest part of healing is simply starting the conversation. Family issues are often tangled in years of unspoken pain, but opening up to someone who is willing to listen is the beginning of unraveling those knots.